What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Mind, Body, and Pockets podcast, where we take lessons learned from people in the marching arts community to help you level up your life. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Paula. And on this podcast, we're going to get to know the individuals who make up the marching arts community. They'll share their experiences in and out of the activity and the mental, physical, and financial lessons they've learned along the way.
And this episode is all about the mind. Today's guest is one of the most innovative percussionists in the game. He grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and began his drumming career at the young age of 7 years old. He later joined the Blue Devil Drum and Bugle Corps, where he marched for 3 seasons, winning 2 world championships and a drum trophy along the way.
That's usually how it happens when you march Blue Devils, right?
I want to say he was lucky, but that's just what the Blue Devils do.
Yeah, if you march 3 years, you're probably winning a couple championships in there. It's awesome. He and friend Harvey Thompson co-founded BYOS Percussion, and the duo quickly became social media sensations due to their creative and energetic drumming videos. This man has dazzled audiences all over the world, including the US, Australia, Germany, and Japan, performing with artists such as BTS, Peter Fox, Tony Royster Jr., and Travis Barker of Blink-182, just to name a few.
By the way, he also just won a Grammy for the Netflix special Homecoming with the Queen herself, Beyonce.
So basically, we know Beyonce by
you
association, right?
didn't know Jay-Z's coming to the birthday party.
Oh, awesome.
Today, we get to hear all about his journey and take a deep dive into his mindset. So please, help us in welcoming to the podcast, Mr. Ralph Nader.
What's going on, fam? How y'all doing?
There he is. What's up, Ralph? Thank you so much for coming on with us today.
I really appreciate y'all having me.
We've talked about the Mind Body Podcast thing for a while. You've been a supporter since day one. You were actually one of the first ones that were like, it was you and like 3 others that were like, all right, if they said it, let's give it a shot and see what happens. So thanks for
Absolutely.
that. But basically, this is the Mind episode, and we're going to dive into your mindset from the journey perspective, from how you got into this, what you've been through, what you're going through now, and the mindset and the approach that you took along the way. So hopefully it inspires somebody to grab some tidbits or even learn the bad and the ugly of what you've learned so that they don't make those same mistakes.
Absolutely, man. And I'm all here for that as well. So yeah, I'm an open book. So I'll be sharing as much information as possible, and help guide the younger generations. So like you said, they know their footing and they won't make some mistakes on their own. One thing that probably brought us all to the activity is just the love of music. My dad, he was a DJ. So when I was born, he would just be playing music and his turntables, everything like that. And then they noticed that I used to always like bop my head and dance to it.
It's probably in time too.
Yeah, exactly. So like my dad was like, hey, spoke to my mom. He's like, you should probably give him like some pots and pans or something. So literally at the age of 2 or 3, I was like banging on pots and pans alongside with my dad. We'd be in the house practicing his mixes. So that kind of generated the love for music. But then also about the age of 4 or 5, I got my first drum set. It was a toy drum set, but it did make a lot of noise. And of course, living in the projects, Albany projects, 11 floors high, 11 apartments on each floor as well. So I had neighbors on top, below, left, and right. So I constantly got the cops called on me.
Yeah.
As a 4-year-old, that's intense.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was literally just hitting anything, So during the middle of the day, the cops would get called on me, but it wasn't too bad of a thing. My mom just saw that as another outlet to keep me out of trouble. So after the drum set situation kind of failed, my mom had put me into a Little League baseball team. So I did that for a couple of years, played back catcher, shortstop, and also right field. So I was doing all of that in the midst of my childhood things, but, still had the love for music. My mother realized that there was an after-school program called the Brooklyn Steppers. At that time, there were the Jackie Robinson Steppers marching band. And it was the Jackie Robinson Steppers. It was a Jackie Robinson program that had martial arts, marching band, yoga, fitness, like all different type of activities to keep the kids,
I love that.
Keep the kids out of trouble.
Eddie would tell me about Brooklyn Steppers and all that, but I didn't know that it started off as Jackie Robinson and there were all these different facets. That's so important to have programs like that where kids can not only have something to do, but they have choices and they can explore different interests and be exposed to stuff.
We had rehearsals from Monday to Friday from like 3:30 to 8 p.m. And then we'll perform or do showcases over the weekend. So we were really active in that program.
Yeah, Jackie Robinson was like the city's band. If there was anyone doing anything, they were like the first call. They were the TV, like, on the road, in the spotlight band, and everybody knew it.
We had Tyrone Williams and also Russell Simmons as our sponsors, so, and our mentors. So basically they got us to the right locations. They introduced us to the right people. The program itself had got good funding to like go on band trips and competitions down in the South, and to allow us to travel, because I mean a after school program really doesn't make that much money, but for us to have equipment, instruments, uniforms, travel buses, all that stuff, it does take the proper funding to pull off.
A lot of time, a lot of efforts, great directors, great kids to push all that stuff through, man. I learned a lot from all that.
Absolutely. And then also, speaking of directors, we were mostly like self-taught. Like a lot of our students would go off to college, and then they would come back and teach us what they've learned in college. So like we had members go to like Hampton's high school band camp to learn different cadences and playing pieces, and they'll come back to us and we'll learn them. So like that kind of kept the tradition and also trained us for college, so like by the time I got to Hampton, I already knew majority of their material.
I want to go back and highlight though the importance of your mom, shout out to mom, for knowing to put you in those programs, the baseball, that I didn't even know about the baseball thing, plus knowing that 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. you could get in trouble during this time. Instead, let me have them do this thing. I'm gonna make sure I stay busy. That's just, there's brilliance in that, of just making sure that you keep your kids busy.
Right. And also a parent being encouraging and not being like, stop banging on the pots and pans and making noise, but seeing through that and seeing like, okay, there's something there. Let's help grow that a little bit more. So
the only rule my mom had, she gave me a curfew, a 10 p.m. curfew to stop drumming, because she had to go to sleep for work. So that was the only thing.
Shout out to mom. Shout out to mom.
But I love my mom to death, my mom and my dad, because they kept me in the program when I wanted to leave. Because, like I said, I joined when I was 7, but it was an after school program from age 7 to 18. So me as a young child going into an organization that has full grown teenagers, mustaches, beards, and all that stuff is grown in. I'm just like, man,
what am I getting myself into?
Correct. So the first 2 years, it was a little intimidating, but I was thankful that the members there took me under their wings and literally taught me everything. One thing I didn't know how to read music or write, anything like that, but I did pick up by rote extremely easy. Like if you could play something, I'll be able to play it back. So that was one of my strong points, my strong factors as far as drumming. But I think in 2002, 2003, we were able to bring in Tim Green as our percussion instructor. And he's the one who taught us like music theory, me as a new teenager, like, what, read music? What's this? Like all that stuff. So I appreciate Tim Green for taking the time to sit with us on cafeteria tables and a blank sheet of paper and just like, all right, here's a whole note. These are half notes. These are quarter notes. These are eighth notes. This is how you count it. This is how you play it, blah, 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 blah.
So important.
And he literally took tricks away from us for the whole first year that he was with us, because he wanted us to focus on the foundation.
Shout out to Tim. Oh, man, that's perfect. I could totally see him doing that.
Yeah, there's something in the learning by rote thing, though. Mm-hmm. You can right away learn how to do something, whereas, I'm trying to read music and then try to do it. Like it's a lot of things to do all at once. So you can just right off the bat just start to learn, and that's a skill I'm sure it's been a strong suit for you. At the school that I used to teach at, there was limited time, and it's like, we're going to sit here and teach fourth graders how to read.
Here's a whole note.
FAC, like they don't care. They want to play, something. Mm-hmm. So there's merit in that for sure, I think.
The blessing in that is to be able to thoroughly explain how to play something to someone who knows music theory, but also someone who doesn't know a lick, so that you have a wider audience that you could reach because of that talent and that skill. Because I have been at some clinics where you explain one thing and then like half the group understands it, and it's like, okay, now I got to explain it in the layman's terms so that people could grasp it, and that's all it is. And then once it clicks, they're like, oh, that's what it's been doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all about that light bulb moment. And yeah, Tim took our tricks away for a year and really just sat us down so we could figure out how to play. And both Harvey and myself started just like that. Like I said, Harvey was into BMX bikes and also inline skating. I was into BMX bikes, and we had a mutual friend in my building, and that's how I actually got introduced to Harvey. Because both of them came over to my house to play video games after band practice. So we were all playing video games and stuff, and like Harvey and my friend Lamont was playing. So I would be off to the side, still practicing the new material that I learned. So I was playing, and then I did like the left twirl, and then I guess it caught Harvey's attention. Harvey was like, "Yo, what'd you do?" I was like, "Man, just this twirl here." I was like, "I just learned it." He was like, "Show me how to do it," because Harvey was all about flash.
Harvey
man. Like
shout
tricks
and
everything
Harvey.
Like that. So Harvey's the visual master, like legitimately. I learned so much from him. I told Harvey that. Harvey went home. He borrowed a pair of sticks, came back the next day, got it. And he was like, bro, try this. And
that's Harvey, man. He's got that sparkle. He's got that extra oomph. He's got that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he saw that stick trick and was like, oh, but what if it was ooh?
Exactly. Yep.
So like
on top of that, think about this. I'm right-handed, Harvey's left-handed. We both use opposite parts of our brain. And
yin
and yang, we come together, and that's how we created BYOS.
What is BYOS exactly? Like for the viewers that are just getting to know you right now.
Man, BYOS, bring your own style. And the reason I say bring your own style is because me being a hybrid, both from core style and show style, I'm able to, find that balance, that middle ground between both. But with me being that hybrid, I've heard a lot of talks from show style people saying, oh yeah, core style is not that entertaining, and like, yeah, they're playing cool stuff, but I can't watch it for too long. And then some people on core style is like, yeah, like the tricks and dancing is cool, but yet the technicality and the musicality of stuff may be lacking in some factors. So for me, I try to bridge that gap with BYOS, and I not only participate with other musicians, but I'll do stuff with dancers, I'll do stuff with producers, drum set players, horn players. Like I just do it with whomever I can, because I simply enjoy coming together and creating something. Mm-hmm. Like I really would like to be like a creative director somewhere. I think I have a pretty big resume.
That's the easy part.
I mean, just the opportunity to work with so many talented people has been a blessing. And that's really what I enjoy doing, especially after the activity, you age out and all this other stuff. Like, I'm not going to quit doing what I love, so this is going to be something that I could do on my own time. Drumming's always been my hobby. It's always been my escape. It's always been, my peace.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I kept it to myself for a while, and then I started just posting. And, you put it out into the world, and then the world reciprocates and give you back the love. And that's been like the number one thing. And like I said, I'm always self-conscious, about like certain posts, like, oh, I don't think I did that well or anything like that. But just getting the support from way back then, it really helped me out to who and where I am now.
And you're super well respected on both sides of it. And I think that's one of the coolest things about you, is that you can just mesh that together and make it your own. And it's incredible to watch.
You said something interesting, like both sides think something different about both sides, and Paul and I were talking about this the other day, where, it's a weird state that we're in. If anyone's watching this in the future, we're in the June 2020 and we're in the middle of COVID. There's so many protests and so many movements happening right now, and it's a crazy it's nuts out there right now. So if you're watching this in the future, this is where we're at right now.
And if you made it through, awesome.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how that could be a way to bridge the gap a little bit of what would it be like if both styles, core style and show style, and if people don't know what that means, core style being like the marching band, drum corps type of more regimented style, and show style being more the historically black college and university style, and we've done both, but there is this sort of I don't know, like almost animosity from both sides. But you guys have brought a whole new light for people to respect what the other one's doing. Because we were being honest with the fact of like, if an HBCU did do an exhibition at a drum corps show, there might be a murmur in the audience. Vice versa, if there was a corps style in the middle of Battle of the Bands, it'd be like, let's go get a hot dog. Like, what are we doing right now? So I wonder what it would take to really merge both worlds, so that when we can appreciate one another's styles, but two, we can also learn from each other, so both become better throughout the process. And I think you guys are the start of that movement.
Thanks, man. I think we really just focused on the common ground. We all have the same thing, whether it's notes, the instrument, or just the backing track or the ensemble, right? We all share those three things. And now, as the performer, as the person in front of the camera, I have to make sure that I, one, entertain you, but also I show you that I do have understanding of the foundation. I do have, I am the master of this craft, and that's when it comes to like finding the balance, and like we call it checking all the bases, because we want to make sure that we provide something that a 3-year-old could be entertained with, but also a 7-year-old. And that also goes with people who know about music, or someone who's just walking down the street and just stumbled upon it. I think that also helped out with my growth, because I have more of a general audience rather than just a marching percussion audience. I have dancers that follow me. I have video editors that follow me. I have, directors and horn players that follow me, all this other stuff. And it's crazy. It's really crazy. And like you said, with me being a part of both show style and chorus style, like I have color guard, following. I have, front ensemble followings and all this other stuff, and all these organizations I've been a part of. People know of me, and it's like that support's been there and all the other stuff. And it's a really great feeling to just share something that I enjoy with the world. And then also people like, man, like when people say, bro, the bar has been raised or something like that, it's been raised for the activity. Because I know as far as drum corps and show style, they're constantly trying to throw something new, throw something fresh in. But the thing is, with the difficulty level of the tricks and also the playing that I do, it gives them something to work towards, and it kind of gives some type of inspiration or idea. But I saw this thing done between Ralph and Amir on tenors. If we could do like a tenor snare solo like that, then that would be cool. Like there's different things that you can incorporate drums with. That's just been the thing, just try to touch every base and just make my product, or make our product, good for everyone.
Bring your own style, BYOS. Make sure you like them on Instagram and all their platforms. It's incredible stuff, and it's really a safe space. I follow the hashtag actually as well, and just seeing what people post and put up. It's just it's just such a family vibe, and I appreciate
it's grown.
You for that, man.
No, and absolutely, and it's all about support too, because it's like no matter where you're at, playing wise, you have to be consistent with it. That's the only way to really show your growth. And like you can even look at my old videos, and you look at my videos now, you go like, wow, like so much growth just from 2 years ago to now, or 3 years ago to now, or even the beginning of BIOS. Our video production has gotten better. Our playing and technicality has gotten better. So we're fine tuning ourselves along the way, and that's why we try to tell people, try not to aim for perfection, but aim for progress.
I love that.
That's
because
so good. Yeah.
Yeah, when you aim for perfection, that's an end goal. Like that's an ending. So it's just like, oh, I'm working just to get to this one point, and then I just stop. It's like, oh no, I know everything, but that's not how I am. For myself, I'm constantly trying to learn stuff. Like I got a jazz theory book, like all that stuff, so I could add to like my production, so I could start doing my own tracks. I just got a kalimba I was working on, so I just did like a little play around project with that, So I'm constantly trying to learn and grow as a person, but also as a musician, so I can contribute that to being a drummer and a performer, because now I have more insight. I know how to approach certain things. And like, even when it comes to like mixing and mastering, like I have friends who are engineers that I've learned from, and I'd applied it to my production. So that's why the drums and the music sound so good together and all this other stuff. So it's more than me just being a drummer. you know, I'm just constantly learning to add more value to myself as an individual.
That's a clip.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of growth too, let's talk about that journey, because we talked about your upbringing, we talked about the Brooklyn Music and Arts program and a lot of the influences you had there, but
Cadets in New York City as well.
Cadets in New York City. Oh man,
talk a little bit about Cadets in New York City, because a lot of people out there
don't know what that is.
Yeah, they think there's one.
Yeah, and
Cadets.
That's actually how we met.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually where we met. Was Cadets in New York City. It's basically a Division III drum corps in New York City. One of the
and it was
from
it was mixed between Kips Bay
Nights Club and Cadets of Brooklyn.
Also the Cadets of Brooklyn. Yeah,
Cadets of Brooklyn.
So with Tim being my drum instructor at Black Fire with the Steppers, once Harvey and myself had gotten to the point where we showed that we could play like difficult stuff, we could read, we could write, everything, Tim actually invited us to stop by, you know, Cadets in New York City rehearsal, and that was in 2014. 2013. I believe it was 2013.
I'm pretty sure that was 2003. Not 2013.
Oh,
this was a long time ago. Yeah, you've been doing this for a while, man.
Yeah, I've been drumming for too long. I'm sorry, it was 2003.
Yeah. This is. I remember when y'all came in, because we had already been with the drum corps for a few years, like me, Eganom, and the crew that
Alex
Blake.
Yeah.
We all knew each other already, and when Tim, while he was teaching us, he was not only the drum instructor, but he also like taught marching. He taught drill. I think he wrote drill for a couple years.
He wrote drill, yeah.
Shout out to Tim. Tim is a great dude. Everybody. Damien.
He brought us over from the Steppers. He brought some drummers and also some horn players from the Steppers, and even color guard. Yeah. He brought basically members from the Steppers to Cadets in New York City, and like that right there was an eye opener, because for myself, like I said, I'd done show style majority of my life. So I didn't know anything about drum corps. Tim was showing us videos of like lot videos of the drum line. It's like, okay, you know, they're playing some cool stuff, but we're used to the tricks, we're used to the dancing and stuff like that. And they're in the lot. So, you know, all they do is just mark time and drum. So we was like, they're
what
boring.
Is this?
They're boring, Tim. And Tim was like, no, I'm telling you, it's a lot better. You get it on the field, you do choreo and all that stuff. It was like, all right, we'll give it a try. That's why I could understand, you know, the difference between show style and core style, like their perspectives, because I was that ignorant before. A lot of the people from Cadets New York City were like from Bronx, you know, New Rochelle, all the places that were a little bit further from Brooklyn. So now we had this group of members coming in from, you know, north part of the cities coming in and like just brought that swag, just brought, you know, so much more to our organization. So like we just grew in Brooklyn, which was dope. But yeah, because that's New York City. So sorry. I only really marched like half of a season, because the season that we didn't make it past prelims. But in 2004, we were able to go to the Tour of Champions at Giant Stadium. And that was the first time I got a chance to see the Cadets in person, to see the Blue Devils. Like for the first time, I didn't know who the Blue Devils were. I still thought they were like a Duke. I thought the Blue Devils was like part of the Duke University or something like that. No, just being for real. Like I said, I didn't know.
Great.
Like, California. I didn't think anything.
I'm getting the flashback because I was on that bus too on the Tour Champions. Paula was also at that stadium that day.
So you were at the clinic.
Giant Stadium.
You were at the clinic. The Music is Cool.
Yeah, the clinic where they did the run through and all that stuff.
Yeah. We weren't really at the clinic because Tim was just like, y'all follow me, and like we just ended up just like going through the stadium and just watching different groups, different sections warm up, and I remember that. That was a beautiful moment for a lot of us.
Yeah, and it really opened up my eyes, and like that right there made me say I want to go to Blue Devils, because when they did the practice run through, I saw that the spider toss thing for their drum solo.
Yeah.
With the steam drum. I was like, yo, that joint is so dope. They're doing tricks, they're playing, they got the swag, you know, and then Derek was in it. And then they also
Derek Kelly, shout out to Derek.
Yeah, Derek Kelly was in there. He was a former cadet in New York City, you know, member as well. So it was cool to see our representation there in an organization that was in California. He made it, I guess, possible for us to be like, hey, we can make it, you know, like if we were to try. So yeah, I saw that spider trick and I was just like, man, like I want to go there. I saw Skojo for the first time and they did the spree and I was like, bro, they really playing some stuff, doing ghost notes and just had that swag. So I told Skojo, I was like, hey, you know, like I'm 16 right now, but when I graduate from high school, I'm gonna audition, I'm gonna make it. He was like, all right, I'll be waiting for you. So
that's that drop in the bucket. That's that quantum manifestation. Ooh, and motivation, because now you're taking action from there.
What a mindset for like a 16-year-old to be like, hey, I'll see you in a couple of years. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, because we knew Derek, and like whenever Derek was off a tour, he would still work with us for the New Jersey Nets drum line and stuff like that. So he'll come home and he'll show me like the little licks that they've done, and I was like, oh man, that's so much fun. So I was learning little tidbits here and there, and he was just like kind of training me like the difference between the Cali grip and like East Coast grip and all that stuff like that. He taught me everything like with that technique and stuff, and I just went home, practiced in front of a mirror, and I was just watching a bunch of Blue Devil stuff. But the Cadets New York City was a great segue into that, because that was my only drum corps experience, even though it was only for half of the season. Yeah, it really gave me something to work towards. But that right there, with him taking the time to teach me and just talk to me, it meant so much. So I didn't take that for granted. And then once we went back to the steppers, I'm like, all right, I need to learn all the sprees. I need to learn all the exercises, all this other stuff. But also Harvey and I, we had bought the Keeping Up with the Joneses SCV drumline DVD. And I'll tell you, that was the best DVD we could have had as teenagers, because a lot of their exercises and their warm-ups, it builds endurance and sound quality. They were really lengthy exercises that will burn you out. But the thing is, after all that stuff, it got our hands right, because we all learned from, those type of organizations, but we used ourselves as like a melting pot. So we took like, all right, we want the quality of sound and the strength of cadets here. We want the swag from Blue Devils, the swag and the flash from Blue Devils. We want the endurance and the sound quality of SCV. We were just trying to pick all the good out of every corps, so that we could be better drummers. Harvey and myself, we just taught each other the exercises, and we would just drum every day. And that helped us out as far as keeping our hands going. And to also give us something a little bit more challenging to play, because like I said, show style, drumline, we're getting new shows, new drum cadences, all this stuff every week. So it's really hard to perfect something that you haven't played in a long time, and you're just constantly trying to get a new show out to perform at a different event or a different venue. So that at least gave us something to help us. So Bruce Lee, he has a saying, says, be like water. And I take that seriously, so that you can adapt to any environment, right? Like Paul was saying as well, having the skill to learn by rote helped out a lot, especially with Blue Devils, because they were like, all right, check your dots, like dot book and all that stuff. We're like, okay, cool. Like, or technique or marching and all this other stuff like that. I really didn't master my marching until I tried out for Blue Devils, because that's when they were seriously like, all right, you need to play some real complicated patterns and all this stuff like that. They threw us through the ringer.
And you had a half a season of drum corps. I'm just clicking that. Like, you had a half a season of actual drum corps style marching, and had mastered a whole different style of marching. And then you're like, I'm gonna go to the Blue Devils.
What's up, Blue Devils?
Yeah, it was wild. Wow. It was wild, because really it was like a blessing, because it was like right place, right time. Because in that year, 2007, they only had 3 vets. Wow. They only had 3 vets, so it was 5 rookie spots available. And the thing is, I didn't initially audition because I was afraid. It was actually Alex Blake who spoke with me, and he was like, hey bro, I'm audition. I'm a little late, but I emailed Skojo, and he said that it's okay if I send in a video, and then he'll let me know if I come in audition in January. Wow. So I was like, okay. He was like, well, just let him know that you're a friend of Derek, and he referred you to, audition. So I reached out to Derek. I was like, hey, D, you mind if I reference you to Skojo to say that I would like to audition and see if it's worth my time to fly to California? He was like, yeah, not a problem. So I went home after finals, because it's like Christmas break at college. And then I was like, all right, me and Derek, we locked ourselves in one of the drum rooms in the steppers equipment room. And then he recorded me playing a few sprees and exercises. And basically those videos went out to Skojo's email. And then Skojo was like, man, look great. He's like, I can't promise you a spot, but I would like for you to come out and audition in person. So Alex and myself, we went out there, and like I said, I'm 18. I went out there not knowing anyone but Alex, intimidated by Skojo, because last time I saw Skojo, I was 16. Yep. And But the crazy part was it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Just from like the vibe and how they treated us, it was really comforting. I realized that they wanted confidence, like they wanted the presence, So I realized that if you look the part, you get the part. At the end of the day, it's less work for them to fine tune you. So it's like if you already have the technique, the look of a Blue Devil, they're like, he's perfect. Just slide him in and then he's good. So that was the case. The only thing that really gave me some issues at first was like playing their exercises and marching, because they'll have all these different rhythmic exercises and we're doing like figure 8 boxes, and all stuff. And I'm just like, oh, bro. So like right there, I had to like just buckle down and just focus, which is good. I made it through and I made it. But once I got into the line, it was immediately like a family atmosphere. Everyone was willing to help each other out. And like I said, I was one of the 5 rookies in the snare line. And Matt Regwa, he was the captain. He was also the snare captain at RCC. He came in and he wasn't, any arrogant or anything like that, but he treated us respectfully. And he took his time explaining things. And man, like I learned so much that year. But 2007, 2008 was more like my learning year. 2010 was like, hey, I already know how everything works. Like I'm good to go.
I got this.
And I would say that was the most fun I've had out of all the years, 2010. But yeah, like my 2007, 2008 year, it was more just learning how to condition my body, like getting my endurance up, taking care of yourself, eating right, managing your breath, like breathing exercises, like all that stuff was brand new to me. Like doing yoga in the morning, stretching.
Did you guys do yoga just about every day? Like when you were
every
on tour?
Day. We ran and we did yoga blocks every day, across the field in yoga every day. That's what I really did love about the Blue Devils, because they treat us as professionals, right? So they want to at least give us the proper tools so that we could take care of ourselves and not overwork ourselves. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And in order to perform the best you can, you have to take care of your body. So, we had frequent water breaks. We did yoga and stretching, like a half-hour yoga stretch block, and then we did another half-hour across the field, and then we'll run 1.5 miles or 2 miles doing our breathing exercises and stuff. So all those things helped out. I actually hold on to them now. Me as a performer, I make sure my health is intact with my playing ability, I would say.
Love that.
We'll have to have you like back on a body episode.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
Trifecta.
So,
yeah.
1, 2, 3.
I'm all for that.
Healthy body, healthy mind, though, vice versa. But let's talk about that, because those were your growing years, 07 and 08. 09, you actually took the year off, and I believe you were back at college for that year, right? Can you talk about what college you went to, like what your career and major, what was that life in that year between the Blue Devils and going back to a completely different style and mentality?
Absolutely. All right, so I went to Hampton University, and that's in Hampton, Virginia. Graduated high school 2006, so that was my first year there. Being first, like, because it was crazy, because I experienced my rookie year in Hampton, but then also my rookie year Blue Devils right after. And there were two completely different vibes, because when you're a rookie in show style, you don't have much of a say-so. You have to follow suit, take orders and just do your job. But then you also have late practices, you got schoolwork going on, all this other stuff, you got retained music with and all that. So that was a good experience as far as teaching me how to balance work, like schoolwork and also drumming, and also like a social life and all that other stuff. But as far as the thing with Hampton, I was already, I would say, trained for Hampton, since I've been learning their cadences and stuff since I was 12. And so going in there and learning the material was easy. I just learned the right way to play it. So that was fine. And I'm not saying that it was a cakewalk, because it was still strenuous, traveling every weekend, eating Golden Corral, not necessarily being the healthiest, but yet still performing to the highest you can, which was crazy. But then once I got into Blue Devils, that transition, it was more so like, all right, I seriously had to get my muscles prepared for it. Because like I said, you work different muscle groups. You're not going to lift 15 pounds for 3 months and then the next month go straight to 50. Like, So before I had a camp, because since we weren't really drumming as hard with notes and stuff like that in Hampton, I had to keep my hands busy. So I was just like trying to make up my own licks and all like that so I could continue to challenge myself to prepare me for Blue Devils, because I knew Blue Devils do all the upbeat stuff and all these different polyrhythmic stuff. So I'm just like, all right, I want to make sure I'm prepared as possible because I don't know what I'm stepping into. You know, like after the audition, we really didn't get the show music until like the end of January. So we got like part of the intro to the end of January. So I was like, okay, the beats aren't that complicated, but I still don't know what's to come. So I was just like constantly just meeting up with my friends, and we would just make up these hard licks, you know, just to challenge ourselves. Going to Blue Devils, it was just like, all right, cool. We got the music probably like a week before we go in, so I could look over the music, practice it on my own, and then have it down. And that's what I think professionalism came in as well with the Blue Devils, because you get your material and you have to show up with it learned, basically, you know, so that they could fine tune or modify something or anything like that. So that taught me a lot as an 18-year-old, is like holding yourself accountable and just being responsible with learning your stuff. So yeah, that was a great thing. And like I said, I did the year of Blue Devils, which was great. Like I said, it was intimidating, but the payoff was great. Winning the championship the night of my birth, like what was it? Midnight was my birthday. So the finals was August 11th at the Rose Bowl. So by the time they announced the winners, it was my birthday. So I was like, yeah, it's the best birthday present. So
that's a great birthday present. Oh yeah, man,
August 12th, man. But you know, right after that, I kind of just had to throw everything I learned from Blue Devils kind of out the window and go straight to band camp, because I was already a week behind in band camp.
Oh man.
So yeah, so I'm just thankful that my band director allowed me to do Blue Devils and come back in the middle of band camp. So I did that and just had to jump straight in to try to learn the new cadences, to learn the new drill for the shows and all this other stuff like that. But thing was, I was well conditioned from Blue Devils. So I wasn't out of breath. You know, I was on fire with
you were
the
at
hands.
Your peak.
Correct, yeah. So, you know, like I had the energy, I had the hands, all this other stuff. And I had like a different perspective. So I would come back to Hampton and I would like share my information with the drummers and work with the drummers to get their hands up, their technicality of things down and all that. So at first it was a little intimidating, I would guess, to some of the upperclassmen. But at the same time, a lot of them respected me because they knew that I came from a humbling and loving place. You know, like I wasn't like, oh man, like this is what I want to do. I was like, hey, you know, I learned this here and it actually helped me out to play this. So I just passed on information from Blue Devils to my members at Hampton. And we all just kind of grew up and like we kind of morphed the new style for Hampton's drumline. Because at first they had harnesses and they were just a little bit more regiment. But, you know, I switched them to straps and then we started like playing a little bit more. Yeah, so it was fun, man. It was a cool transition. But yeah, it was just like right after drum corps, I had to like clean the slate and jump straight into learning new material.
Wow.
And you know, being in the South, you got that heat. It's August.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's not only East Coast, West Coast. You're also in the South and North. Like you had a lot of different vibes happening around the same like 5-year period, you know. And there was a lot of growth during that time, because even at Hampton, that's around the time you started making your videos and stuff, wasn't it?
Yep. So, I did. You know, you experiment. Like like I said, I majored in broadcast journalism, and I also had an area interest in theater. So I've been in a few plays at school, but broadcast journalism, I really wanted to kind of tap into the media. I always thought that I looked young. So I was like, hey, maybe I could be on Nickelodeon. So I majored in broadcast journalism and I started taking my video editing classes. So they were just like, okay, this is how you work Movie Maker. This is how you work Final Cut. This is how you work Adobe Premiere Pro. So I'm learning all these different softwares at the same time, because at the time they thought that newscasters would kind of be obsolete, and then they would have to learn how to video edit, how to direct, how to produce, how to write, all that stuff. So I was basically being trained to do all of that, advertisement, media law, all that stuff. So I took all those classes, and we were college students, you know, with a lot of time on our hands. So me and my friends were like, yo, let's do like a skit or something like that. So I started off doing these little drum skits here and there.
Oh, Nick. I remember those.
Nick Roberts.
Nick Roberts,
my
shout
brother,
out to
Nick Roberts. That's my brother from another mother. I am the godfather to his daughter.
Wow.
So, and yeah,
is that
my baby.
Casper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nick Casper
Okay.
Roberts. Yeah.
That's my bro hands. But he's been crazy, man. Doing well as well. But he transferred from Norfolk and came to Hampton because I was there, and that was my right hand man. Like I said, we were constantly drumming together, getting into trouble, all that stuff like that. And he actually opened his home and allowed me to stay with him and his family.
Wow.
For like a year, bro.
That's
so,
important, man. Those friendships are so important.
Yeah, exactly. But from there I was like, okay, well, I like drumming and I'm also doing these things. So let me start just recording myself. So, and it started with just like exercises, like a spree that I made up or like a lick that I made. But then middle of my senior year, I was supposed to go to Drumline Live and I was supposed to perform with that organization. I auditioned, I made it. But after I graduated, I was actually presented the opportunity to work for ABC News station. So I turned down Drumline Live, but one of my Drumline Live videos was kind of technically the first BYOS video. I drummed to Michael Jackson's Heartbreaker, and that was the first BYOS video with the track behind me, different angles, all this other stuff. And I was in my percussion director's room, with my friend just recording. So that was just for fun. But it was kind of like that announcement, like, hey, I'm part of Drumline Live, like I'm going on tour soon. When I didn't go, I was like, man, that was a dope video. Maybe I should do more.
Yeah, and repurpose that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it was wild. But, at that time, I looked at it like, okay, I have my degree in broadcast journalism. There's an open door for me to work for ABC here in Virginia. So why don't I at least experience that, see what's going on.
It's brilliant.
So I did that for a year. That later opened up an opportunity for me to move to California. And the reason I said the Drumline Live thing beforehand, because I believe y'all were out in California and some of the casting directors from Disney actually saw the Drumline Live show.
They watched the actual performance, and we ended up going to the studio and like doing an audition. It was like 6 or 7 of us doing an audition in the parking lot, and the rest is history. Yeah,
because at that time, Disney was looking to open up the Soundsational Parade. Basically, they reached out to the Drumline Live cast. They auditioned in person, but they wanted y'all to relocate to California while y'all were in the middle of the tour. Mm-hmm. So only a few people were able to actually do that. And someone reached out to me. They was like, hey, there's an opportunity at Disney, for this new show that they're trying to put on. And they want show-style drummers that can dance, do the tricks, and perform and stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, well, what do I have to do? They was like, well, what I've done, they said they forwarded my Drumline Live video to them, and they saw that and they was like, hey, can you ask him if he's interested in moving to California? So that's when I got contacted by the casting director, and I was like, man, like as long as I'm able to live somewhat comfortably, like at the beginning, then I think I'll be okay because I just need to get my foundation set. I was even like, well, if I go to Disney to drum, if it doesn't work out there, I could apply for production jobs out here in film or TV. So that was my mindset. I was still like, okay, well, California is a lot better than Virginia.
Yeah.
So, and then there's more entertainment in that area. So I was like, I may be able to find something out there. So Alex and myself, we actually drove from Virginia to LA in 2 days. We did that in 2 days, bro.
2 days. Seriously? Did you stop at all?
We only stopped, I would say, one time, and that was in Arkansas.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's like supposed to be
that should
3
take
days.
Like at least like most people like leisurely, beautiful. Nice 4 or 5 day trip.
It's a different mentality.
Nah, we were dedicated.
Go.
We were dedicated. We took 8-hour driving sessions. So like I would drive for 8 hours, but every 4 hours we would stop and get gas. So while I'm driving, Alex would be sleeping, and then we'll stop at a pit stop, get something to snack on, fill up on gas, then keep it moving. And we went straight to an RCC rehearsal too, so that was kind of cool.
And you were, how old were you around that time?
I was 21.
Wow, and that's crazy because you had already been hopping from East Coast to West Coast, from North to South a few times, and you already had a little bit of that mindset, but now it does take a different kind of character, though, to say, all right, I'm going to now take all of this, go all the way over there, and see what happens.
And no guarantees. Like, you had made up your mind I'm just going to go, and I have these options, and, you know, I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall and something's going to stick, you know, and that's,
absolutely.
It's having that trust in yourself too. That's like a really scary thing to do, is it's take that risk to go, but it obviously worked out for you. So it's awesome.
Thank you. No, it's been crazy. And even when we got to Disney, you know, they mentioned to us, it was like, hey, you know, right now it's just this one show that's going to last for this duration of time. So there's going to be a point where you may not have work or anything like that. So we just want to make sure that you have some type of pad to land on outside of this. And when they mentioned that to me, I was like, all right, cool, like not a problem. So I was doing my own projects, and backstage in between shows or parades and stuff, I'll just make up little material, and then I'll go home, record it, or sometimes I'll even have the video edited before I even go to work. And that right there, it kind of generated, I guess, a segue into BIOS, because there was a time where I was like doing stuff with some of the drummers out there in Cali, and it really didn't pop as well. Like it caught traction, but it didn't pop as well as it did with Harvey and myself. So I was doing that for a bit, and then Harvey was doing videos on the East Coast, because Harvey was the percussion director at North Carolina A&T. Harvey's done video work as well, video editing. He's done multimedia and all that stuff. So, like I said, right place, right time, God's timing. But basically, me working at Disney with the hours that I had and the schedule that I had, I was able to take an opportunity that Harvey came to me with to tour with Seed, which was the German reggae band in Berlin. At first, it was like, all right, amazing. You know, we're just going to do a 1 month trial just to see how we gel with the band and see how they could utilize us and stuff. It was like, all right, cool. So I spoke with my director, my manager at Disney. I was like, hey, you know, is it okay if I take this time off to do this or do that? And they was like, well, as long as you have someone to cover your schedule, you're fine. Because we had a sub pool as well. So I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, so I basically gave someone my entire schedule, and I went out to Germany for a month, and that changed my life. And like that was more on the performance side, because it wasn't based off of chops. This is like you're like a dancer with drums, you know, so you gotta do big motions and all that stuff, swag, choreo, like all that stuff. So
was that the time where you guys like figured out your style, you and Harvey, and just like really honed in your craft together? Wow.
Yeah, it was right after that when Zymox actually contacted me. It was like, hey, we love the videos that you've been posting. We have this new pad that's coming out with the snare mechanism and all this other stuff, and we'll love to have you test it out. But this was like a week or two before Harvey and I was about to go back out to Germany for the second time. But this was going to be for 3 months, because that's when they were doing the summer festivals. The first month was, I think, March. I think the month of March. So we did that. That was fine. And it was like, hey, we want y'all to come back, but from July to September, July through September. So it was like, okay, cool. Carl was like, all right, do you think your manager would be down to let you miss 3 months of work? So man, that's taking the leap of faith. You know, I haven't taken any days off of work. I haven't called out sick. Like I've been there 100% outside of that. And I've had a great rapport with my managers. So they was like, Ralph, like, no, like we support you and we told you to have multiple things and we're just happy for you. And they was like, this right here seems like a great opportunity that could lead to more stuff. Just hearing that assurance, you know, from your manager. Yeah. So they was like, hey, you know, it may be a possibility that you may not have your schedule back, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, you know, it's okay. You know, so I told Zama, I was like, hey, send me 2 pads and different colored rims, because I'm about to go out for 3 months with Harvey and we're about to do some stuff. So they was like, okay, cool. So they express mailed me the pads. I packed them up super heavy in my backpack.
That created such a whole nother look too, man, with all the art in Berlin and you guys with the different colored pads and you being culturally different from everyone around. It was like boom, 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 boom. All the cards were stacked for you. Yeah. Incredible.
Right place, right time, bro. Mm-hmm. And like I said,
and the leap of faith, the leap of faith to do that. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm being mind blown right now because I'm also, as I'm hearing now, I'm hearing like the professionalism that you got from like Blue Devils times, the adaptability stuff you were talking about earlier, the accountability stuff like you were talking about earlier, and now showing up at Disney and having that rapport with them beforehand, and now you're bringing a new opportunity to the table, and they're still like, yeah, we love you when you come back. You know, it shows your growth and how you picked those gems and took them with you and put them in your bag.
Absolutely.
For life. Wow. Kudos, man.
And it's just a pattern of you taking leaps of faith from Blue Devils all the way on. It's hard to really succeed, and you never know what something's going to take you to unless you take that leap of faith. So it's just a lesson, for everybody who's listening that really wants to do something but is a little bit afraid. But if it's really, what you feel you should be doing and it's a dream, you just have to go for it and trust that you're going to put in the work.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, what they say, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing something while you're still afraid.
Say that one more time. Hold up. Take your pads out. Take your pens out. Pull over. Think about this one.
I was saying that, like, when it comes to courage, you don't want to look at courage as like something with absence of fear. Courage is something like an action that you take while you are in fear.
Quotable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that's always something I've been a part of. And like I said, from age 7, when I first joined that band with them young adults, I'm like, I don't want to be in this group, and for me doing that and tapping into Cadets New York City, like that's a whole nother environment I wasn't comfortable with. Then me moving from New York to live in Virginia to go to college, on my own. Like
Scary.
That's a whole nother thing. Yeah, and then transferring to California and then going out to Berlin. Like, I've actually lived in Berlin 3 months at a time for 5 years. So like I have friends that are like family out there. Like I know the language. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like hallo, guten Tag. Yeah, I speak a little Spanish. I speak some German, and just to be able to access the world, it cultured me so much. That when I came back to America, I'm just like, I'm not on the same mentality that anyone is on right now, and I just use that as my advantage.
That's beautiful. It's like you had different keys of different perspectives, and it's just like unlocked a whole new world and created this monster we're looking at right now. Yo, this is crazy. This is nuts, man. Sorry, it's been a while. We're gonna wrap this up a little bit for the listeners, but you will be back in the future. I want to talk about some practical tips that you have or practical tools that you use because it seems like you're a structured person, that you got your goals, you got your ideas, and you kind of take this leap more often than most people. What tools or some stuff that's helped you along the way that can practically help us, whether it be a routine or a workout or something?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, health is number one, because if you're not healthy, you won't be able to do anything. Just monitor your eating, I would say. A lot of us, we like to overconsume. So I would say be mindful of what you're consuming, because too much of anything is bad for you, right? So that's one thing.
Wow. Boom.
When I wake up in the morning, I try to set like an itinerary. Like for myself, I don't work a regular 9 to 5 job. So I still have to be structured in a way that I know what I need to have accomplished by the end of the day. So just keeping that into consideration, like having a little goal list for today. Like, okay, today I need to record this video. Today I have a podcast at 1 p.m.
Yeah. Oh, and you literally write these things down every morning?
Write it down. Yeah, in the morning. Just so that it's fresh.
Wow.
Because if I would have wrote that down a week ago, I'd be like, man, what I gotta do today?
When you are a freelancer, it's very easy to, I'm gonna sleep until noon because I have a gig tonight at 8 o'clock. So if you don't have that structure, which I made that mistake years ago, just kind of you float through your day. You have to be the stickler for yourself, because nobody else is gonna motivate you or tell you what to do or create that for you. You have to have the discipline to do that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, absolutely.
Wow.
You just have to micromanage, really.
Yourself.
And,
wow.
Yeah, you have to micromanage yourself. Because like you said, if you're not feeling too well, you're like, hey, I just want to chill right now. Or you eat a little heavier than you expected, so now you don't have that energy that you had earlier. It's just like so many things, so many factors come into play as you go throughout your day. So you really have to just push through, and it's like, you know what, the reward would be at the end of the day where I get to truly relax.
That's beautiful. I see that Blue Devil, that scheduling too, or like we got a 3-hour block, then we got lunch, then we got a 2-hour block, then we got dinner, and then we got a 3-hour performance area time, and we got to turn it on. That's with the reward at the end of the day. It's cool how you're taking those lessons and you're literally doing them every morning for yourself because you've seen the success, and it's just like, let me take that tidbit and apply it to my everyday life. Beautiful.
Yeah. I would say too, if you could have or create like a small group of people that could just not necessarily hold you accountable, but people that could check up on you. Like, hey, you say you was working on this project last week. Did you ever get that done?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like having people in your corner like that, it really does help. For myself, Egonom, Harv, like we stay in constant communication with each other because, especially now, Egonom is starting to get into more projects and he's starting to do more. So he'll FaceTime me and I'll give him some Final Cut tips or anything like that as far as video editing, some mixing stuff if he needs to learn stuff with Logic or anything like that. So it's like we're here for each other as well, you know, to help build.
That's amazing.
Each other up, yeah. So it's like you gotta have your circle, even though y'all don't talk every day. Just your circle of doers.
Yeah, accountability partners. Accountability partners.
Accountability partners. Yeah.
I love that.
But yeah, like I was saying, like just a to-do list because every day it could be something different. For myself, there were times where my mom had like 4 back surgeries and a neck surgery and all this other stuff. So I have to factor in, okay, I need to go stop by my mom. I need to take her this. I need to do laundry. I need to blah, 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 blah. So all of that just helps me focus because for myself, I get scatterbrained. I mean, the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time, right? That's kind of how I see it. I try not to get intimidated by the size of something. I was like, okay, I just need to fraction everything down so that it's a clearer picture for me.
It's beautiful. Yep. I love that visual too because it was like I was watching the elephant. I'm just like, okay, one bite at a time, piece by piece. Because it's and you do chew a lot. Like you take on a lot of projects, and I just watching you do that. And when you said laundry, I was like, oh yeah, he's still got to do laundry. Like this is.
Oh yeah.
When do you?
Remember, I'm married. Married, so I got domestic chores. I got the dishes. I still have to make sure my wife is, happy at the end of the day. But it helps that she's supportive as well. And she steps in whenever I am overwhelmed with something, so man, Patty, she's my confidant and, she's my rock. So she's been actually kind of been like my manager too. Patty's been with me before BYOS even like got going. So,
yeah. And there's sometimes I want to text you. I'm like, should I text her first? Cause she might just be way like faster, easier and like better at like knowing what to actually do. So shout out to Patty. Oh man. We just went through your whole timeline and your journey. If you could go back to like young Ralph, let's call it early teens Ralph, and like, what was something you know now that you wish you knew then, or something that you would want to tell that Ralph?
I always say, think about investments. Like at that young age, if I would have invested into a camera, if I would have invested into a computer, all that stuff beforehand, like a good processing computer beforehand, I think we would have been further along. And that's the same because also like when I was younger, we had more creative minds around us. We had all of us just hanging with each other.
Yeah.
So just imagine if we would have had the technology and the equipment we have now back then.
Like that's funny that you wanted to put in more time.
Just to be honest, because I mean, as a teenager, I was just like, all right, we got band, we're performing. And I was like, yeah, we doing these little high school showcases. So I'm all about girls and all that stuff like that.
Comfortable.
And just like name brand clothes and all that stuff like that. I should have been thinking about branding myself. I should have been thinking about, like I said, equipment, cameras, all this other stuff that was up and about. Instead of asking my parents for a new PlayStation, I could be like, hey, or money for some shoes, I could have saved it and put it towards something else. Wow. I don't know. I'm just thinking on those type of terms because we were creating and doing a lot of good stuff when we were teenagers as well. But just imagine, like you said, how further we would have been
if the hours were taken earlier. Yeah. I love, take that in, people. That's a huge lesson right there. Huge lesson right there. Like, what would you do if you had more time doing the things you love to do? And it's funny because when you said investments, I was like, did you want to think about your 401k plan when you were that young? And you're like, no, investing in self-invest, read the books, do the work, get the programs, do the mistakes now, and invest in yourself so you're not thinking about the immediate moment that won't matter. What PlayStation game was that you spent all that time on? It doesn't matter. Or you've worked so much now that you can do that stuff on your leisure time and really enjoy it now.
And I was about to say, the way I think now, I think, okay, what can I do now that my future self would thank me for?
What would I do now that my future self would thank me for?
Yeah, that's huge.
Wow.
That's such a shift from like, like the young mindset to the grown, basically.
Yeah.
I'm mature. And I'm thinking about making my life easier in the future.
Yeah. You put that time in now while you have the energy so you could relax as much as you can on the back end. A lot of the older people, they have to settle for like grocery or fast food jobs because that's what's now available for them.
Yeah.
Which isn't right. But yeah, seeing that transition is like, no matter how much you dedicate your life to a company, they really don't look out for you in the tail end of it, and like, that's when you need it. You need it throughout your youth, when you have the energy to do everything. You don't want to be retired and just burnt out. It's like, oh, I just don't want to do anything and lay around now. And then now you're trying to travel and all of that stuff. It's like, it's too late to do all of that stuff.
Start early. Start early. For sure.
Yeah, definitely start early. And stick to what you're passionate about. Because something that you love is something that you could do till you die. I think that's what you should try to find work in. Like for myself, I could see myself drumming until I no longer have hands or until I'm dead.
I love that.
I could always teach, even though I'm 60, 70, 80. I already racked up my experience and I've already taught the world while I was 20, 30, 40, 50. It's like I'm laying the foundation now, like you said, so that my later self would be like, all right, I put all the work in, the world knows me. I've established this. I started this drum line here. I taught here, blah, 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 blah. These people adapted my playing style to the activity. Like all those type of things play a huge factor. And I'm just truly thankful that I am a contributor to the activity, and to kind of leave my mark. So
we really hope you enjoyed this episode featuring Ralph Nader. You can follow Ralph on Instagram at rnader4prez. That's the letter R, Nader, the number 4, and Prez, Prez, Prez. That's where you'll find tons of drumming content as well as links to his YouTube channel.
If you want even more great drumming content, Google BYOS. Those 4 magic letters will take you to all of BYOS's stuff all over the web, and you can also find them on Instagram at BYOS1191. Check the description below for links to all his social media pages.
Thanks again for checking out this episode of Mind, Body, and Pockets. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram at Mind, Body, and Pockets. Until next time.